It says we're live.
Let's see. If I go to my YouTube on my phone.
Yeah.
DFS. Yeah, it says we're live.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep, I'm on. I'm viewing. It says live right now
Okay, what
with 6
what
views.
can you
How's
yeah,
that
what can
possible?
you see though?
I'm here. I'll send you a text. Yeah, I see us at the bottom with our cheat sheet up at the top, and then I see the rows of people. Okay, so here I'll send you the photo what it looks like from my phone.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, let's get. I don't see you for some reason. Just kidding. See you now. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
All
Over
right.
here making lineup, and definitely interesting. Okay, yeah, we got 40 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes till lock. What's up? And I'm trying not to go too many, I'm really trying to my exposure not to be over 60% on anybody this time.
No, I think I cap
Um,
mine because like I said, I usually cap mine at like 50, 55 on like the players that I really like. But
uh, yeah,
last week I went super freaking heavy on a few just
on dude yeah.
because
And
they
it
were
crushes your
all
night
yeah because
when
they
that
were all supposed to be locks of the century and yeah, that happened.
yeah, that is dude, I'm just so torn between this Izzy and DDP. Like, if I didn't see the press conference and I didn't do any other research beyond anything, and if I would have said, DDP all the way, but I don't know, man. I'm almost convinced that Izzy, because it is personal, he does rise to the occasion, but then it's about getting in front of that, and it's like, is this the end of his reign? You know what I'm saying? Like, how when Tony Ferguson got that one loss, his first loss, and it was like, okay, he's fighting a whole line of killers,
Yeah.
and then he lost again. And I went back to that well a couple times thinking, oh, dude, this is Tony fucking Ferguson. There's no way. And he has the most consecutive UFC losses, I think, in UFC history at what, 8?
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, but that's
you
what I'm
know,
saying. It's like I didn't want to go super heavy on just one particular freaking person. Um,
for sure, for
but like,
sure.
yeah, I could
Um,
let me pull up my ownerships that I have. So, I created the 150 lineups. What I typically do. I only entered in about 31. I think I ended up with about 31. Um,
okay, nice.
there. So, exposure.
How much Nikolai, uh, Nikolai or Jenkins do you have? Because I noticed I've been kind of skipping over them. I'm doing 5 in the main, but I'm
So
doing
Jenkins.
20.
So top five highest percentage I have Rosenstrick at being my highest. I have Nolan coming in second. I have DDP third. Jenkins fourth. Gamrot fifth.
Okay. Um,
That's just the ownership that I entered into into
into.
DraftKings, not my overall lineup, not
Okay.
lineup optimizer creation tool. So uh,
And then okay, so
as
that's
far
what
as
you did
set,
for your.
yeah, as far as setting my exposure limits, I did for Jenkins 48 to 52. I wanted him in at least 48 to 52. I see him um, obviously being slightly cheaper, slightly,
Yeah.
$200.
I know.
But $200 is $200, especially when it's like literally it just looks like it's such a top heavy card. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, some of those bottom guys that we talked about. Dan Hooker, I really like. Even though
Me too.
I do have Gamrot in 30-something% of my lineups. That's strictly for the fact that dude tries to grab. I mean, he's a grappler the entire time, and so if
Yeah.
he can get the uh, those takedowns or so.
And again, when I found out that Hooker has a 80% takedown defense, and he's literally been taken down like one time in his last 5 or 10 fights,
Yeah.
uh, that's interesting for sure. And then also, when Gamrot fought, um, Dos Anjos last.
Well,
Dos Anjos got a
we
knockdown.
we got a comment here. This guy's asking here, how do we get different in a single game entry? You got to pick 6 fighters. Of course you do. So yeah, no, let's go ahead and
Yeah, I'm doing the
instead of you just watching us BS here, let's go ahead and pull up. I got to do a little adjusting here on my screen, but let's pull up our cheat sheet here to give a little more access to what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, as we talk about that, perfect timing. I'm going to set my $40 single entry lineup. So that'll be cool. Again, I don't mind even. I don't know is it legal for me to share my lineups, because I don't really care, to be
Well,
honest.
the only thing about sharing lineups is you're losing expected value, because obviously if you guys are sharing the same lineup, the money return. But so if you can see up on the screen here, Don, here's our rating system here. You can look at, you got your win leverages, your inside the distance leverage, round one leverage. These are all basically the fighters in, salary order, as you typically would find on a site. So obviously, Tom Nolan's coming in at about 37% average ownership across this is basically across 3 sites that I take ownership from. So 9,800 is a tough one, because I mean, he is almost guaranteed. He is probably, even looking at that quick finish. However, 37% single entry, you don't have to get too different as compared to like a GPP. That 200K. So, who would I be looking at to kind of set yourself apart there? Dang. I hate kind of giving one single. I have a cap. Yeah, 50K. Yeah. So, well, who do you think, Dave? Who would you be as that? But it's so hard to pick one person, because it's really a lineup kind of thing for me. It's like I'm looking at the overall ownership of the lineup and not necessarily one individual person. But some of these ones that I'm looking at here, just so you notice, if you're new to the channel, the My Data column here is our math predictions. We've been pretty accurate here, pulling about 75-80% using math to determine. So I'm kind of looking at that. Some of the ones to keep an eye on is that Car France would be a good, if you're looking for that underdog, that 8K or even 7,500 and below. Car France has a real possibility. He is an older guy, but he is. I think he is live, at least for me. Casey O'Neill, I would say, is probably going to be the highest owned person, just because, I mean, everybody game log trolls. Yeah, O'Neill would, but everybody, I mean, go ahead and pop over there on that game log. If, even just your casual people will be playing her, because he's just 130, 110, 115, 100. So even if you don't know anything about DFS, you're going to see that and you're going to put her in. So where I have her ownership coming in at about 30%, I bet you her actual will probably be close to, in single entry.
Single entry, it'll be higher.
Yeah, I'd say 35 to 30, 35, 38%. You're looking. So,
but not to cut you off, but it's because in a single entry, notice she also scores great in a loss, and I could see this fight going to a decision, and even in a decision loss, she scored 54 fantasy points. So your baseline of what you're trying to do is get 10x the salary. So you're hoping for her to hit 76 fantasy points, or higher. And even in a loss, if she gets you that 54, she to 64, somewhere in there. She could even still be putting your single entry lineup in the money with a loss. And those are the type of fighters you're going to want to roster in a single entry so that you're
Well,
just gaining the most points
we'll do this,
possible.
Don. Who do you have? Like, who's your three core players, so I can kind of look at what kind of salary you're looking at here. If you have your three core fighters, right, that you know for sure you're going to enter. I mean, I don't want to give you to give away your whole lineup, obviously, because you won't be setting yourself apart. You're
Yeah.
putting your lineup out there, but. Yeah, if you have your three core, that can kind of give me an idea of like what salary am I looking with here in that potential underdog slash lower ownership person. Because I have a feeling this one's going to be tricky. You're going to have it's going to be a lot of people playing that 9K plus, and then just hoping and praying for those lower ones. But then I can also see everybody just playing that mid range, that 8,500. You got Adesanya there. You got Walker, Tafa, DDP, Song Kanan.
Yeah.
So if I get a little bit, maybe if I can get like just those three core players, give me a better idea kind of what I'm looking with. Because like I mentioned, I kind of judge it on like overall lineup and not necessarily individual plays.
And also, the other big thing would be I don't really look at ownership. You can go the chalkiest, lineup you're going to make in a single entry, especially it just depends. Are you doing a single entry with 5,000 people? I'm doing the $40 single entry where there's only 876 people. So I'm really not too worried about, being too chalky. As long as you got one fighter in there that's, at 20% or under ownership wise, you really just need to make one, you know, really great move, I guess, low owner moved in order to have your lineup stand out. And, the other good thing to do is to try not to zero out the salary. Even leaving just $200 left in your salary is a great way to separate yourself because most people definitely feel like they need to zero out the salary. So even if you have a chalky lineup, but you can leave two to five, 600 on the table, that's a great way of trying to set yourself apart,
So
from the
looking
competition.
like Walker, man, I went so super heavy on him. What was it, about a month and a half ago? His opener versus Brzezinski. However, I do think
Yep.
he is the better heavyweight in this. They are coming in. Tafa is actually, I think, higher ranked now. The tournament got 9K people in it. So 9K is getting up there in people. So you do kind of want to say yourself slightly,
Yeah, for
different
sure.
there.
That,
Walker's a good play. I mean, he is coming in. He is the underdog of the fight, so you have that going for you. He's coming in at about averaging 28%. I think he's good play because he is a heavyweight, so there's always that potential for a knockout. But Walker, I'm hoping looking at him before his debut versus Brzezinski, like he was getting takedowns. And obviously, these DFS, DraftKings and stuff favors, the grappler more. So I have a feeling, Walker can get him to the mat, get Taffa to the mat, and score those points. So that's also a good play there. So, coming in 28, that's not bad. Carl France, that's another underdog at 24%. So you're already kind of setting yourself up. You don't want to necessarily go too many underdogs, I guess you would say, unless you can. I can't predict the future. I wish I could. But and then who else did he say? Okay, so Carr and
yeah,
Walker.
I
But
like, hey, not to cut you
yeah,
off. I also like Walker. Anytime that there's a striker versus a wrestler and someone who just has absolutely zero takedown defense, and if Walker can literally get one or two takedowns, Tafa will not be able to get back up. So Walker will get the control time, even if he is unable to get a submission or anything. And this fight I see going one of two ways. I see Walker most likely getting the takedown in one or two of the rounds and being able to get the control time and get the takedown and then landing some strikes there. Tafa's only path to victory is getting some type of knockout finish. Walker does gas in the third round for sure. That's his biggest issue. Would be his cardio in the third round. Would be my biggest fear, but I do prefer Walker over Tafa. Exposure wise.
And I would just like that last name you just mentioned here. No, I agree everything with David Adesanya. Man, if you look back, I'm like, I like him as a fighter, but he seems to be a DFS card killer for you. Like he is a great MMA fighter. Obviously, he's going for his third belt attempt. So obviously he's good, but his style of fighting doesn't necessarily translate too well to DFS. He's that stick move counter, lateral movements, and that just doesn't translate to points. So I mean, he is coming in, you know, even at 8,300, you're kind of hoping he needs to finish within the first 3 rounds because anything kind of after the third round is basically a decision win. And I just don't see Adesanya as a very high volume fighter. I mean, do you agree, David?
He's not. Yeah, yeah. Adesanya averages 3.7 significant strikes a minute. Now, on the other side of that coin, that I did find interesting is that DDP, he actually absorbs 4.3 strikes per minute. So it's only his output is 6.7 strikes a minute. But if we're correlating Izzy's output to what DDP striking defense is, uh, Dreykus is just he'll take a hit to throw one because he hits so freaking hard. But I'm with you, David. I do think that in order for Izzy to be in the optimal lineup, he's gonna have to get a finish, and man, that's gonna be real tough. Dreykus is a big dude, so for me, I think in some of these larger field tournaments, I don't see Izzy making the optimal lineup in a win. But I do think if Dreykus wins, he will be optimal. So, don't get me. I'll be sprinkled. I have exposure to both.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely have him just to cover the bases. What do you think?
Yeah.
Don's question here: who would you pivot off if you're pivoting off O'Neal? But I mean, pivoting off O'Neal might not necessarily be needed. She is coming in at higher ownership at 30, but if you're also set on, you have France or Walker, you're already kind of low there too. So you don't, like I said, being single entry at 9K, you do need to be different, but you don't need to be too different. So who would you pivot off, David?
So I've been finding myself going Ricardo Ramos, and again, that's not the safest play, but fighter for fighter, he's the better fighter than Cuabao. So, at 7,700 and him getting the win, that's definitely possible. People are going to game log troll and see he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights, but in his wins, he had a decision win back in 2021 for 98 fantasy points, and that's when he was 7,700. He did have a knockout win, was his last win in the first round against Chavez. Um, so, he's just a better fighter than Cuabao, and it's tough because it's a little bit of more of a low level fight, so anything's possible.
Yeah.
But I have been going. I'm not going any Cuabao, and I'm going probably 25-30% Ramos right now. So she's only $100 more, and to me, that's the safest person in that salary range to pivot off of O'Neal.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't have, obviously, Franz is in your lineup, that's a good pivot. I like him. Tai Tuivasa, I mean, he's always has that striker's chance. He is, if you notice here on my rating, he is coming in at the higher end there. This is solely based on leverage, because you can kind of see there, he looks like his inside the distance leverage for Tuivasa. However, I do like Rosenstrick. His kickboxing is pretty mean. Going down, I think, if I were you, I only went about 2 to 4% on either Burns or Reyes. I do not think they belong in the UFC. Reyes has fought twice in 7 years, and I'm pretty sure he's just there for, I think David made a joke, he's there for the medical insurance.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of crazy. I like Dan Hooker. Gamrot is huge favorite. However, his durability, his chin seems a little weak. Dan Hooker, if he can catch him early, I think he has high potential there. But if you're trying to stick around that 76, yeah, Ramos I do like, and Carl Franz for sure.
So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Sorry, I'm finished setting one of my last
Yeah, no
tournament
problem.
lineups.
Yeah, looking at it, if you're looking at just those top dogs, they're on 9K fighters, man. I mean, it's so hard.
Man.
Tom Nolan really needs that quick finish to pay off a 9,800 salary, but then at the same time, if he does finish in the first round, you kind of need him as well. And I mean, inside the distance favorite, negative 1,000. That's a 91% chance. 65% chance to finish in round one. Kind of hard to ignore that. Now, if it doesn't happen, that's a huge punch there. But yeah, I think at the top, yeah, I like Jenkins over Nolan's. To be honest, yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you stopping by. This is our first live stream, so bear with us, man.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of figuring things out on the fly here. Live streaming, we do have we do our podcast and go over this, videos is a little bit more streamlined. But yeah, we're like getting into this live event here before, helping people there at the finish line. So appreciate it.
Sir. Yep. Good luck.
So who do you have, Dave? When you're looking, like who's that? I mean, I hate to say it. Who's that guaranteed lock?
Yeah, man. My guts I really find myself going Rosenstruck, and don't get me wrong, I do like Tuivasa, but it's that, man, it's just the four fight skid for Tuivasa is extremely concerning for me. He's been knocked out.
He already said he's gonna start drinking right after the fight. So
I know, dude. He literally was like, "Yeah, I'm getting wasted the second the fight's over," and it's like, he just doesn't seem like he's a guy that even takes it serious during camp. He showed up, I think he weighed in at 265. Like, I mean, yeah, man, he's don't get me wrong, I like his personality. He's a fun fighter, but anytime he's fighting these upper dudes, he gets smoked. So it's like, he does have a puncher's chance, though. I mean, he definitely hits hard, and knowing he doesn't have to worry about the takedown threat here at all will serve Tuivasa really well. So
yeah, my only thing with that is like the Rosenstruck is not afraid. He's not afraid. Like, even who did he fight? He just goes in there. He doesn't care if he gets knocked out. He just goes in there and starts bombing. So I have a feeling that one, is definitely going to probably be inside the distance there. So. Obviously, heavyweights are always live. 1,700. That might be putting a little too much left on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even in my GPP one, the 200K, I really kind of set a limit, about 1,500, no more than that. And even then, I'm only like 600-800 sometimes. And obviously, that's based on the card, but I think you might be getting a little too different. There, is there any one of those, maybe those underdogs we talked about, that if you can go even an extra 1,000, like, you'd be still good, leaving 500 to 700 on the table? I think was even a little bit too much. 3 to 5 maybe in a single entry. I think you'll be fine.
For sure, yeah. Leaving, 2 to 500.
You'll definitely be different. I can tell you that you'll be 100% different. So I'm not saying that lineup won't win. It's just you just maybe potentially getting trying to be a little too different. So, do you have a 9K person that you're locked in on there, Don? That for sure you're not changing? Sorry, I'm drinking a crap ton of coffee, man. I got woken up 2 in the morning this morning.
And
I'm thinking, let me, Pratas. Ooh, that's the guy. Pratas.
yeah, that's man, that's an it. That's honestly, that's my least. Not to take this with a grain of salt. That's my least favorite 9K guy. I actually have been going quite a bit of Li Jingliang. Uh, I'd even be heavier on Li if it wasn't for the 2 year layoff with the back injury and the back surgeries that he's had. So that's really my only concern. And I know you're seeing those amazing knockouts from Pretas, but keep in mind he hasn't fought someone like Lee has, and Lee has never been knocked out. So, Lee's got a chin. And don't get me wrong, Pratis looks like a hot prospect. I think he's going to do some great things. Um, this will be a great stepping stone from him. He might be catching the leech at the right time, but I could see this fight going to a decision. So that's my only scare is the fight going to a decision. And Pratas does not have a very high volume of striking. His scores do look great if you're looking at the game log because he has a knockdown in both, so that's 10 fantasy points, and then he has the first round win and the second round win. So those are big reasons for those giant scores. So if you see this going to a decision, he's probably going to be closer to the 70 to 85 fantasy point range, which won't be good enough to be in the optimal lineup for a 9,200 guy.
Yeah,
So
and I like Pratas, but it's just like you said. I think Li Jing, the Leech, is 5 times. I mean, probably even more than Burns or Reyes. Like I said, I don't believe. No offense to them. They probably whoop my ass if they heard me say this, but I just don't think they're UFC caliber. They might be, professional fighters and they can fight somewhere else, but I just don't think they're at that UFC caliber. So I think that Nolan and Jenkins for me, like I even mentioned to David here before, like I think I had Jack Jenkins when I did my optimizer, lineups. I had his exposure set to 48 to 52%. I don't like to go over like 55 on any one person, just because I don't like to basically lock myself in, and if that one person implodes, then all 150 lineups are bad. But Jack Jenkins, I think, was my highest 48 to 52%. I think he actually landed at about 50% of my lineups. Nolan I had slightly lower, and that's not that I don't think he's going to destroy Reyes. I just 9,800 is such a huge amount to pay off. Like,
yeah,
even if unless he goes out there and gets 5 takedowns in the first, it can't go past the first round to pay off that salary.
for sure. I mean,
So if it goes into the second round, unless there's a lot of volume, 9,800 is rough.
Oh no, if it goes in the second round, it's not going to get hit that he's not going to pay that salary off. Uh, so,
But yeah, so that's why I like Jack Jenkins. That's probably
okay.
hands down my favorite of the 9K. If I had to pick an order, probably be Jenkins. I like Pratas because he's the low of the lower 9K, the 9,200. I like him. Tom Nolan, Nichols, and Gamrot. I like Gamrot's potential for grappling, but I think Hooker's potential to knock him out because he has seen very
Sure.
weak chin recently.
Yeah,
I'm hedging it, and literally the only reason I like Gamrot is because all he does is throw takedowns, and if he can land them on Hooker, then you can just see your point total going up.
yeah,
So
for sure.
uh, yeah,
And plus, Gamrot's got a pretty projected low ownership with all the guys that are in that 9K range for
yeah.
sure.
Speaking of low ownership, man, you got Urcheg. I thought he would be slightly higher ownership, only coming in about 14.6. I mean, he's not by any means the DFS all-star, but
Yeah,
God, I think more than 15%.
yeah, it's pretty. It must be because there's a lot of the top heavy guys, and I think he's one that people don't see. I think they see that going, the going the distance. And if it were a 5-round fight, I'd be Urseg all day. I think Urseg's getting the win. But I don't know if he's going to be able to pay off the 8,800 is my only big concern
Yeah,
there.
I think that's probably the main reason. I think Carl Franz has. So what's a pivot? Protas, Nolens, Jankin, or Gamrot? Me personally, if I had the choice and I had to substitute, I would go Jenkins. That's my personal thing, for sure.
Let's through tie in this one. Yeah, I just made an Urseg lineup. I went DDP, Urseg, Jenkins, Kanan, O'Neal, Tuivasa. So
it's just, I mean, if you just look up here, Vegas. So Protes has only 3 fights in. That's why his name's yellow. If you're wondering what the yellow names is, so the math column is a little bit more skewed because it's based on like an average of their their strikes, their takedowns, and things like that. So yellow fighters, we do a lot more tape watching to ensure that data is where it is. But anyways, Protes is the favorite for Vegas. He is coming inside the distance in round 1. So he is a good fight, but then you come up here to Jenkins, who's just 400 more, so it's not a whole lot crazy, but it's just everything is so much higher. And then, like you said, just the caliber of his opponent. Like we mentioned earlier, I'll kind of repeat myself, sorry, but I can see not, a possibility that Lee can win. I don't see a possibility where Burns wins. Like,
the Burns would win 1 out of 100 fights, and his only path to victory is a first round submission, and that's it. Other than that, he has no chance. He's going to gas out by middle of the second round, if he makes it to the second round. And
in that turn too, you're only giving up 4% ownership, right?
So yeah.
But who, man, we already talked we already kind of talked who's our favorite. Like I said, my favorite, like underdog, man, is I think I'm probably gonna go too heavy. I went a little bit more, I think, on Dan Hooker. I think I was at like 20 to 24%, maybe a little bit more than I should have.
I mean, hey, it's a great underdog. I know it feels scary because he's so cheap, but I mean, the math says it's there. He, again, the 80% takedown defense, and hey, he's new. Do you see all the tattoos he has, dude? He's all tatted up now. And,
is that like a sticker on a car that adds horsepower, or like what? Like what is it gonna make him swing harder, or what?
Yeah, guaranteed extra 15 fantasy points just for the cool tattoos he has.
Well, he might maybe earn some extra points on the judge's card if it goes to decision, so style points or whatever. I was looking at Casey O'Neill, and I think she's so high. Highly going to be highly owned, even though I think Santos is the better fighter. It's just Santos is coming up 3 weeks. I think she just
it's recency bias. I mean,
well, she
had to
make
make weight
ago, and then make weight, and she had a hard time making weight last time. But so we'll see there.
How do you feel? I mean, I might be going a little too much Kanan. I find myself going there because his salary is so cheap at the 8,700, and Ricky Glenn's a vet. He's been around.
What did I go on Song Kanan? I'm looking on my phone. Sorry, I don't have.
Because I have on our, let's see here, Song Kanan. He's at 54% to win inside the distance, and that's one of the higher ones. So.
Not bad. I mean, I got him at 19%.
Okay. What's up? Because I'm making, so many lineups, I'm making like my middle of the road lineup right now, where I have like guys all kind of more in the mid range, trying to make a balanced lineup than than anything, and it is Tafa Walker. Tafa. It's just anytime it's a wrestler and a striker, it's like I can't help but to go Walker, even though Walker didn't look great, but
That man, he made
he's
me
gonna get
so
the
mad.
takedown.
I was so excuse me.
Yeah.
I was so
Oh, me
hyped. I
too.
was so hyped on him on his opening. I went and watched all his previous fights, and then he came out to Brzezinski and lost. Oh my god.
Oh, I know. Oh man.
To lost,
Yep.
and
No,
it's like, dude, it's like
that
you were supposed to be the undefeated brother. Like,
yeah.
you were like, come on, dude. I'm really hoping he
Man.
got those UFC, jitters out of the way. This is, now it's his second fight in the UFC and coming in again on a freaking a main card. I think he was 302? I think he came in, and now he's on 305. So good for him.
Yeah.
But get a win, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, Song Kanan 20%. Yeah, Ricky Glenn. Math has Ricky winning.
So
At 59.3%.
I'll have to throw a couple.
And those
Glenn.
those are actually solid fighters. They have a lot of data to base that on. I can let me try to pull up. I can just switch over scenes real quick. Now you can see it looking down now. Let me see. Pull this up real quick. I have. Who do you want to know?
Song Kanan.
Song Kanan ownership.
Or just what you like or exposure. Sorry.
It was 19%. But I have been looking here. Song Kanan. Based
right,
math data here. I'll throw up the other data so you can kind of see what I'm saying here. I'll switch scenes again. Mind you guys, if you're just joining us, welcome. DFS Final Insights. We do a podcast. We stream UFC, NFL, NBA. We do cover DraftKings. We primarily do only DraftKings MMA, but we do DraftKings and single game for FanDuels here. So this is basically our first live stream, so we're giving it a shot here and answering any questions up until lock. So about 34 minutes or so. So get those questions in. We'll give you everything we have here. But Song Kanan, I'm looking here. Math has him. If he does win, it's 50% chance inside the distance, 4% chance to get round one finish, and then only a 16% chance to get over 100, and then slightly higher chance, like 17% to get 90 plus in a win. That's what math says about that fight. Now take that with a grain of salt, because I'm still working, those data points here for the, inside the distance. But as far as the win percentage, we have been 75 to 80%, so that's nothing to overlook there.
So I'm about halfway through setting my lineups. I got.
Well, you better hurry the heck up, man.
All right. Oh yeah. Well, I got 13 lineups left in the main, and then I'm doing 10 lineups in the TV televised with the captain spot. So I'll be doing that, which I haven't been doing, but I want to try that one out.
I like that single game type for NFL and.
For sure.
NFL
oh yeah, that's
and NBA. The captain spot for UFC is
it's tough for sure. Hey, the only reason I'm doing that is so that if my night starts off a little rough, it doesn't ruin my whole night watching the fights. So I have a backup one starting, with only 9 fights on it.
So looking at it, so I have it. If Dan Hooker wins, if he wins, he has about a 30% chance to be over, 39% chance, to be over 90 plus points, because it would be basically a first or second round win.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So, however, Gamrot being the favorite, coming in at the highest percent to have over 100 plus points. coming in about 55% chance to get 100 plus points.
That's wild. Okay.
Well, no,
I mean,
when you
that's
shoot,
what my
when
no. I
you
love
try
it.
to do
Yeah.
19 takedowns and land 11 of them, like you don't have to do too much else. You get the win,
for sure.
and then just those 11 takedowns, you're there, 100 points. Cool.
Well,
And then obviously
yeah.
all the control time that goes along with that.
Yeah, for sure. That will add up if you can keep Hooker on the ground for sure.
Jack Jenkins coming in. Math has him at the highest percent chance to get a first round, coming about 49%. Other things, other data points here that, yeah, I'll be curious to see. Yeah, Israel Adesanya.
Man, I am super heavy on DDP. It just is what it is, man. I've been a fan of his since he came in, and I'm sorry, but when someone is as well-rounded as he is and the power that he has, like it just Izzy is one of the best strikers of all time. I'm not going to take saw the blueprint to beating him with Sean Strickland.
You broke up there, so yeah. 500 left. I like it. 500 left is not bad.
Yep, I like 500 on the table for sure.
That still puts you pretty different, but as long as, if you look at it and you can, what I would kind of do, obviously just do a double take. You gotta just go fighter by fighter. It's like, yes, I can see this fighter winning. Yes, I can do it. How many lineups no, this is for his this is for his single entry, so I'm assuming one.
Okay. I just logged on so I'd be able to answer some questions in there, and so I was curious if he was still building the single entry or if we were talking in general here, so that.
But do you really see, no matter how well-rounded DDP is, no matter how much power he has, Adesanya is slippery, man. His movement is mean. He's a amazing counter striker, and that's how that's what DDP's going to have to do, is keep the pressure on him, because that's what Strickland did, right?
Yep, and be in the clinch, take away his kicks.
Yeah, did Adesanya learn from that? Right? Like, did he? So
I mean, yeah, he took a year off. I think that was a much needed year off. As he mentioned, he's been one of the most active champions of all time. That's going to wear on a guy when you're facing the top people in your division. Just
Alex Pereira is pushing that, because he's booked for 308 again.
Here's the thing, and not to take away from Izzy, but the only reason he won their second fight was because Alex Pereira had to cut so much weight, so that quick turnaround. And notice that's when he left the division. He was like, all right, yeah, I'm out, and he's killing people at 205 now. And that weight cut completely takes away your chin and your ability to take that type of a hit. And Izzy was able to find it. So and again, that is, if Izzy can keep this fight at range and do what he does and pick people apart, I could easily see him also getting the victory. So, it's gonna. I'm super excited for the fight, for sure.
I'm trying to pull up here my actual lineup construction here. Yeah. So my overall, like I said, we mentioned that. What do you got? Yeah, Protest, I got 23% ownership on all my entries there, Don. Compared to Jenkins, I got 39%. Nolan, I do have 45. That differs from, I don't enter in a whole 150. I do the lineup generator 150, and then I pick and choose the lineups that I want to enter out of those. I'm very low on Reyes, 4%. Punk.
Yeah, I'm trying to finish my lineup so I can give you a correct exposure that I have. I got like 10 left to make here in the $8
Yeah, I
10K to
mean,
first.
if you feel comfortable, Don, putting your lineup out there for the world to see, I'd be more than happy to give you, my input on it. Now, keep in mind, uh, it's just my opinion. So take that, and David, I'm sure, will give you what he thinks of it. So if you feel comfortable, I'm not going to say not to. So. I use an optimizer. It's just way more convenient. However, I do change like almost every setting. So if don't ever use an optimizer and just hit optimize without changing
Yeah, do
settings,
not do that.
that is probably what a bulk of people do, and it's good for me because typically those, unless it's a very super chalky win, typically that's what you're going to get. You're just going to get the super chalky lineups. So if you do use an optimizer, that is my advice to you all, is to please, please change the settings. I change everything. I change the projections to my own projections that I make. Ownerships, I'll change that. That way I can have an average ownerships and not just one site specific. I change the exposure limits on mine. I change how many unique players I have, the randomness there. There's a lot of settings I do change. So it's just more convenient to do that instead of hand building every single one. Technically I hand build, I just have a computer generate them. Yeah, I like saying that. That makes me feel better.
Well, you do, because you select it. You don't just put in the thing and then just import your lineups. You actually go through and basically select the lineups from it that you feel are best and probably tweak a couple things. So.
All right, Santa. Yeah.
I guess I better put Ricky Glenn in one of my lineups. Be safe.
Oh shoot, man! I have him. What did I say I had him at? Oh, let's see. What do we got? He got Ramos, Walker, DDP, Cara, Jenkins, Rose. I like Rose. I like Jenkins. I like Cara, DDP. Yeah, man, that's a solid lineup. I like that. And you say you got 500 left on the table? Let me see. Let me do a quick little math here. Sorry, I like numbers more than names. I'm sorry. That's just how I am here.
Yep, I mean the DDP for sure I like, because even in a loss he can score high. I like Rosenstruck for sure. And then Jenkins obviously as well. And then Ramos is one of my favorite underdogs that I keep landing on. And then I'm actually been going quite a bit of Walker. And so if anything, Kaikar France, I don't get me wrong, I like him for sure, but the only person I would see if you could upgrade would be him. I'm trying to pull let me get over to my thing here. Draft. Let's see. So if you're going up.
We gotta hurry for him. We got 23 minutes to help him out. So let's do it.
Okay, so he already has. If anything, I might go from Kaikar France to O'Neal. Would be maybe.
Yeah, but I think then you're.
If I'm doing it.
Car France, because you're adding 8% ownership almost, and probably, to be in all fairness, probably more, because I think O'Neal's coming in at higher than 30. You're looking at adding almost 18% ownership there.
But in a single entry contest, I guess I'm just not too worried. I'd rather him at least double, make the money in the lineup to where if we assume they both take the loss. If they both take a loss, what do we see them scoring? And if they both get a win, what would they score? And I think either way you slice that, O'Neal comes out with the higher score in a win or a loss. So that's my personal thought process on it, and only because it's single entry is the ownership not as important. I get there was 5,000 people or so in that tournament, but again, I'm trying to at least get you to double your money and have a chance for first. Um,
So if I had
I'd
to
rather
pick, like
tie for first.
Ramos, I like the math is there on that one. Ownership. Hmm, if I go there, then I can go 500 in either door. I don't have to go there, but you have Duplessis, you have Walker. When Adesanya, I didn't go that much on him. O'Neal, Carl France. Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, I like the lineup. It depends, right? So it depends really, I guess, what your risk tolerance is going to be, right? Because if you put in Casey O'Neill and she hits, then you're with 40% other people, right? I can see even in a single game because people are going to be trying to save salary and pick the highest one, so she could even be higher than that. To be honest, when as David pointed out, even in a potential loss, she can score high. Now, if you want to play it safe and just kind of shoot for that double your money thing, then maybe that would be the better play. But then you got to figure if Carl France hits, then you kind of missed out. So it's basically it's so hard. I hate because I don't want to say one thing and then be held guilty in the court of law, right? But
Oh man, yeah, these days.
so it's just based on what your risk tolerance is. I like Carl France as the bigger underdog. There's potential for because when I play these things, as much as I like other people, I don't like them winning any part of my money. Like if I want to hit, I want to hit by myself or with as little as people as possible. So I might play a little bit, riskier lineups, but I like to put myself in a position to basically get lucky. And when I hit, I typically hit by myself. I don't like, winning the jackpot and splitting it with 800 people. I mean, it's nice because it's money, but it's like, dang, right? So I think Casey O'Neill, like you mentioned, is the safer bet. But I think that will give you a lot chalkier lineup than you have. And I probably literally just spoke a lot and didn't probably answer your question. But like I said, I think if you want the potential, a higher potential to be different and potentially, if Carl France hits, potentially be in that upper echelon of wins. If you just have a little bit lower risk tolerance, you kind of just in it, maybe to, double your money-ish or, maybe top 15% or so, top 10, 15%, then maybe Casey O'Neill might be the better play. And I was going to say, or do both, but you can't really do that in a single game. Yeah, so, yeah. And that's why it's like, that's why typically, that's another kind of reason I don't do hand lineups, is because it's like, when I do one, it's like, oh, that lineup's really good. All I have to do is switch out one player and hedge my bet, and then it just becomes I'm not changing. My lineups don't change enough, and it's just I'm kind of just like stuck in that thing. I don't know.
So even right now with the lineups I set, the most I'll do is like 3 variations of something. So I'll make the same lineup, and if I'm leaving, 500 to 800 salary, then I'll change it out. Or like how Izzy's more money. I have quite a few lineups where the only thing I'm changing is Izzy and DDP. Don't get me wrong, I'm not doing that in all my Izzy lineups because I'm not making a whole lot of them, but I was just using that as an example where I'll do that and then I'll go, oh, okay, well, in this lineup, I also have Tuivasa. So instead of going Tuivasa, let me go down to Lee Jinguling or Dan Hooker. And then that'll add a little extra more salary and I can pick another guy and then move him up. So I have a couple different variations of what's happening because I feel good about my core guys, or it's like I'm trying to target 3 fights, I'm trying to target both sides, and I'm just trying to make different variations of that.
Yeah,
So,
and I'll preface this too, Dan. I'll give you a little bit of background on like how I approach DFS because it might not be how you approach it. So my mindset is I am terrible at predicting the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to win these fights, and to be honest, I'm not even trying to think about it right now. I play in like a game theory type thing where I'm using all this information. So I have, you know, um, different websites, basically averaging out all of these win probabilities, these things. And I'm using all this data, different sites. So everybody that's playing these things, I'm using all the information that my competitors, because I'm just here to beat the other people I'm playing against, right? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not necessarily going for the highest DFS score. I'm just going higher than anybody else playing, right? So they're getting all this information. So I'm using this information to help me generate lineups of the people that I'm going against. And obviously, it'd be a lot easier if everybody used the same site, but they don't. So that's why I have basically an average about 3 to 5 sites. I get ownership values from, predictions from, and things like that. And I generate this spreadsheet here, and it basically gives me a leverage play. How much each one of these players is going to give the leverage in my lineup, right? So then I basically try to create EV, expected value, positive expected value lineups. Now, not every player in that lineup might be positive expected value, but the overall lineup itself is positive expected value. And that's really what you're going for, is to make the most positive expected value and put yourself in a position to basically to hit. Unless you can predict the future, because Don, if you can predict the future, let me know. We get you on this. We'll get you on the video here, and then we can make some good money. But I can't. So I'd like to put myself in the best position to basically, hopefully, the cards fall where they are. So.
Hey, you are working on that time machine, right?
That's the weekend project. We're doing this on the weekend now, so it's falling a little behind. So hopefully, now you can kind of understand my thought process behind DFS is, I just got to find out where I can get the most leverage and create those good expected value lineups, and then when it hits, I know it's there because all my lineups have that potential to be up there.
So, hey, do I go Ricky? Hey, should I go Ricky Glenn or Kai Car France as my last piece to my lineup? Probably Kai Car.
What kind of lineup?
Oh, it's in the $8 10K to first, like 6,000 or 7,000 people in it.
Ricky Glenn or Car France? What's your other What's your lineup look like? Like ownership wise, are you pretty chalky?
I got Gamrot, Jenkins, Li Jingliang, O'Neal, Rosenstruck. So it's a little mixed. Gamrot's is under 20%. Jingliang's low. O'Neal's chalky. Rosenstruck, pretty chalky. And I'm sure Jenkins will be, up there.
Who is it? Sorry.
So, yep, I got Gamrot, Jenkins.
Oh, no, sorry. You said Glenn or Franz?
Oh, yeah, Glenn or Kai Car France, yeah.
So, I have it if Ricky Glenn wins, 42% chance to do it inside the distance, 1% chance to do it in the first round, 9% chance to get over 100 points if he wins, 15% chance to get over 90. France, I have if he does win, 49% chance inside the distance, 7% chance to do it in the first round, 11% chance to hit over 100, and a 22% chance to hit over 90 if he wins.
If he wins, okay. So I'll go Kai Car France, and then I leave 200 on the table anyway, which I also like doing rather than zeroing it out. So that works. Right on. Yep, I got 4 lineups left to quickly make.
And just so everybody knows, if you're watching and you're like, what the hell is this dude reading these stats? I'm saying those, I was talking to him. I'm still vetting those numbers there. I'm using, basically some math formulas and stuff, using basically the fighters comparison differential between, takedown, striking, and things like that to generate a percent chance that events happen. So I'm vetting those numbers. I've done over 1,500 fights. I have data for 1,500 fights. That's where the my data column comes in. So these numbers are pretty solid. As far as those numbers, though, I didn't have the inside the distance finishes, the round one, and the type of finish. So I am working on that data now, and that data is only based on about 205 fights. So I'm not comfortable enough to put it full display in front of everybody. But if you're here listening and you can hear this disclaimer, then I don't have a problem sharing it right now. So, but yeah.
Wow. I have quite a bit of Walker, and which I just
really,
you know how you don't really realize it until
I think he's going to be looking to show up.
Yeah.
He burned me in the past, but DFS is a forget fast type of thing here. So,
yes, sir.
I was just so disappointed because he had I watched his videos. He was clean. He actually, even though he was fighting a little bit lesser competition, he looked good. But man, Brzezinski, out of everybody to lose to,
yeah.
But at the same time, Brzezinski has some crazy cardio, man, for a big dude. So I guess I shouldn't be too upset. But Brzezinski did just get a butt kicked last time, so there's that.
See, I guess let's throw in.
We got 10 minutes. Anybody? Any final holy crap moments here while you're sitting there making a lineup? Getting nervous here. Well, I'm hoping this live thing. We just need to do it a little bit more, get a little bit more streamlined, get a thing here. Appreciate you stopping by, Don. Good luck, man. Hopefully you win.
Good luck. Get that money.
If you don't win, please come back and let us know. If you do win, please come back, let us know. We're all here helping each other out. I'd love to see some people win money. I would love to win money myself. So as long as you don't, win over me, then we're fine. No, just kidding.
Hey, then everything is all good.
So no, just hopefully, just here to give, our opinion on things, keeping in mind, everything is our opinion based on the research that we have done. Unless your name is freaking Grigiora, research doesn't matter. Still butthurt about that fight. That is so terrible.
That hurt everybody last week.
Yeah, you're negative 900 favorite and you get submitted.
Dude.
By a dude
in the first round.
By a dude who got knocked out in the first round his last 2 fights.
Dude, I was
going to say I'm nervous, but the person in this case, it's Alex Reyes, and I am not nervous. So.
Yeah. Amen to that. Which means, that means you should be extra nervous.
You know what? Just so you know, if Alex Reyes wins, there might not be a DFS final insights next week. Be a fucking excuse me, dang it. Sorry, apologize. There would be a walk of shame, stream of shame. That's what we'll call it.
Stream of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do stream tomorrow called this DFS stream of shame. So.
Go.
All right. Well, cool. It's almost showtime. Yeah, man. Looking forward to it here. We got 7 minutes game time. Everybody's chugging away, putting in them final locks. Fortunate enough.
All right.
I swear to God, if someone gets sick,
I know before they walk out or get anxiety.
Oh man, that was irritating.
I got 68% DDP, 61% O'Neal, 55% Rosenstruck, 48% Jenkins, 42% Nolan, 42% Walker, 35% Tai Tuivasa, 32% Gamrot, 32% Kanan, 29% Dan Hooker, 29% Hamos, 23% Jing Liang, 19% Kai Kara France, 19% Santos, 16% Pretas, 13% Israel Adesanya, 13% Tafa, 10% Nikolai, 6% Ricky Glenn. And even though he's my boy and I was saying a bunch of stuff about Urseg, I actually went 6% him because I think in a win, he just doesn't score enough fantasy points.
I
Hence,
want to know I
going
want to
Kai
know
Kara
your
France.
thought process here in the final few minutes here. You went 68% DDP.
Man, it's the sword I'm gonna have to die on. I think he's the real deal, man.
No,
y- you know,
I am not questioning his
it,
ability to fight by any means, but you think that fight is going to be.
that I guess what I'm trying to do is if he does, it's kind of like, okay, this was my Bilal Muhammad move, dude. I was 58%, 58 or 60, 58 to 65% Bilal Muhammad against Leon Edwards. And he ended up scoring that 148 fantasy points. And, if you had him, you were good to go. The crowd, everyone else, his ownership was around 32%, I think, depending on what tournament you were in and
I,
whatnot. So,
no, and I think Dricus Duplessis could get those points against anybody else. Like I have no doubt in my mind. It's just the style that Adesanya fights. It's just so hard. Don't get
right.
me wrong. What am I at? Hold on,
He,
before
he,
let me make sure I'm not like at 55%. Uh, but no, like I don't think I'm that high. I mean, I definitely have him because I definitely think he's gonna win.
well, I
Yeah,
could
see, I'm
I
at
could see it going to
45.
a decision.
I'm at field. I'm at
Okay,
45%, so it's not
that's
bad.
cool.
But uh, uh,
It was the salary saving because of where he was being under 8K. So as I have to like pick one of those underdogs down there that is under the 8K mark because everyone under 8K is typically, quote the underdog. So it gets dicey down below, and since that's
but
argue,
you
I know it's a pick 'em.
before we go,
Yeah.
how many single entries compared to GPPs did you
Oh,
play?
oh, dude, one single entry. That's
Oh,
it.
you did
One
one.
or
Okay.
yeah, I did the $40. I'm sorry, I did the $40 single entry and the $5 single entry.
So why did you go more DDP over say Walker at the 100%?
Uh,
100%. Excuse me, $100 salary because I mean I understand there's obviously a
it's
difference
the
in
low level.
skill, but I
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
I'm
it's the
looking at the
low
ownership.
level. It's the low level DFS that to me is a lot more unpredictable to me than this Izzy fight. I think with DDP having more ways to win. Izzy has one way to win this fight. That's keeping it on the feet, staying at range, being elusive, and winning a point style kickboxing match. He's fighting a guy who's a brawler, who pushes the pace, who's coming forward, is throwing bombs and throwing over six significant strikes a second. He can take a hit like
A minute,
he's a
but
a truck. And then if things get dicey, I like him in the clinch because he's not as tall and lengthy as Izzy is.
no,
So
no,
I like him
I
in the clinch.
100%, no, I 100% agree with
So
everything you're
so
saying. But do you just see him in the optimal at a rate of 68%?
I'll be like, well, I put it this
Because I
way.
mean, you
If
got to
he
figure, like
wins,
I say, you like if he wins, it's if it sucks because like if he wins, yeah, sweet,
it,
then the chalk's gonna probably win, and it sucks. But like 45%, like that's what
I'll
that.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I'm overexposed, and that's what I was not wanting to do. And unfortunately,
And I can't really say because, like I told you, I'm 45%. So it's not. I'm still high on him,
I'm
but it's
not.
just
Yeah,
to go. I think I even set him at like 40 to 44, and I think it gave me 45. But yeah, I just didn't. I didn't see
yeah.
in any ways in any of mine. I just didn't see anybody over that 55. Jack Jenkins being the most at 52.
Yeah, that's fair. And again, it was really I guess it's the combination of his salary. I guess I'm taking the and again, I wouldn't recommend it, but I took the ownership more so out of it because I'm like, okay, it's the only 5 round fight, and and if it goes the distance, he could still win a decision and score high. I just any method of victory that he wins, he scores high. Um, and even in a loss, I believe he still scores, 50 fantasy points ish, which means, depending
Yeah.
at the card could go anyway. And so I guess I'm kind of playing it safe, thinking, okay, well, even in a loss, if he gets me that 50 fantasy points, I still have lineups that could still make the money. It might not take first or any big money, but at least it's gonna double my money in my lineup if my other people on there are right.
No.
So,
All or nothing.
uh, you know,
All or
yeah,
nothing.
yeah, you go all or nothing. Well, I go all or nothing in an ownership way.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's like it does help though, because then when you win, you do win big, but when you lose, you typically lose big. But we all know out of my other 34% of my lineups, it's like it only takes one lineup to take
Yeah.
first. So that's
All
the
right.
way I see it. And yeah.
Nice. Well, good. Well, hey, thanks
Uh,
everybody for tuning in here. I appreciate it. You got 1 minute to lock. So with that, just do a little disclaimer. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, do everything you can to help support the channel. We're just getting started here. We're going to try to do more of these live streams. So with that, lock is officially looks like it's in. So this is DFS Final Insights. I guess I don't. That's not necessarily the real name, but we are also going to be covering NFL and NBA here over for DraftKings, and if you're interested in the single games for NFL and NBA over on FanDuel's. So with that, my name's David. And as you can probably notice, his name's David too. But this is DFS Insights, and good luck. Let's